Andrew was the oldest brother, and the most mischievous by far. Rob usually did whatever he was told, and Harry was too young to argue back. "Did you ever hear the story of the knocker?" Andrew asked in a sinister tone. "The knocker?" his brothers replied, looking at Andrew skeptically. "Yes, it lives in the mine past the dock. Legend has it that an old man went into the mine once looking for his dog, and some strange crystal in there changed him." "Changed him into what?" Rob inquired, already far too interested for his own good. Andrew's face grew wide and animated. "No one knows, because everyone who sees him dies. But apparently, he knocks on the wall with a massive stick, and if you hear it, it means he'll get you." "Then what happens?" asked Rob nervously. "He eats your skin and leaves nothing but your bones," Andrew said with a sinister tone in his voice. "That's rubbish," said Rob, sounding a little unsure of himself. "Dad works in the mine every day, and he's never said nothing." "Oh, no?" asked Andrew. "Why don't we go see for ourselves, then?" "If you're so sure." "'Cause we'll get grounded. Mom said we're not allowed at the docks, even when it's daylight." "No, you're not allowed at the docks. I'm the oldest, and I'm saying it's okay. We just won't tell anyone." "I don't know, Andy," said Rob. "Well, I do. Get your coats. We're going now." At this time in the evening, all but a few shops in the village were closed for the day. Andrew and his two very worried-looking brothers had made their way past all the other houses and were about to cross the village and head down to the dock. Only one thing stood in their way: Mr. Jefferson, the innkeeper. He was sweeping up for the night. The whole town knew how much pride he took in his work. He might be there for a while. "It's no good. We'll have to go home," said Rob, glad the adventure was over. "Rubbish," barked Andrew. "Let's just wait. It's either that or we can go the long way round by the river." "I can't be bothered with all that," Rob sighed. "The knocker won't mind what time we get there," said Andrew. Rob frowned, feeling a bit silly that he was so taken in by the story and had agreed to come in the first place. Andrew turned to Harry, his face looking very serious now. "You'll have to go home, little man," he said, winking so that Rob couldn't see. "That's not fair. Why does he get to go and I don't?" moaned Rob. "'Cause he's too young to be out this late. Besides, we might be a while and he can help us sneak back in later." "Right. Off you go," Andrew pushed, winking again and then whispering into Harry's ear. "Just remember where we said." "Okay, Andy," he said trustingly. And so off little Harry ran, leaving just the two of them. As soon as Mr. Jefferson was finished, both boys began to make their way down to the docks. The dock was full of boat parts and cranes, old buoys, fishermen's gear, a creepy setting in the dark. Andrew lit an old oil lamp and gave it to Rob to hold. "Here, take this and tell me if you see it. We're almost there." There was an old mine entrance that hadn't been used for many years and had partially collapsed at some point, leaving only 30 yards or so still accessible. "In you go, Rob," said Andrew confidently. "I'm not going in first," Rob whispered somewhat aggressively. "You've got the light," said Andrew, copying his tone. "Well, then you have it." "Stop being a baby," laughed Andrew. "Get in there." Rob took a few steps at a time, slowly inching into the long tunnel, passing smaller tunnels that split off from the main path, but he didn't dare look down them. His hands were shaking with fear. There was no use trying to hide it. The lamp handle was rattling and the light was dancing all over the place, making it look far more scary than it actually was. "You okay?" asked Andy, trying not to laugh. "What are we doing?" barked Rob. "Looking for the knocker, remember?" "He must not be here," Andrew offered disappointedly. "How do you know?" whispered Rob. "'Cause he can smell fear. If he was in here, you'd be a goner already." At that moment, 3 loud bangs echoed through the whole mine shaft. "Oh, crap!" cried Rob. "What the hell was that?" Andrew said nothing. Again, 3 loud bangs, followed by 3 more. "They're getting closer!" Rob yelled. More banging and more banging. Rob felt paralyzed, and Andrew just stood behind him, saying nothing. The banging got closer and closer, until a figure could be seen. Something. What was it? Moving closer and closer, banging all the time. "Oh, God! What are we going to do?" cried Rob. And just then, the figure came into the light. It was their little brother. "Harry!" yelled Rob. Andrew fell to the floor laughing. "That was priceless, Rob." Harry walked with his head slightly low and without making eye contact. "Please don't hate me, Rob. Andrew made me do it." Rob shoved the lamp at Andrew. "I don't hate you, Harry. Let's just get the hell out of here." Just then, Rob stopped in his tracks. "Shh! Everyone! What was that noise?" "It's not gonna work," Andrew sighed. "No, seriously," said Rob. "I heard something." The brothers stood for a moment and listened. A pained groan whistled through one of the tunnels, connected to the main passageway. "Oh, crap," shouted Rob. "Tell me that's you again, Andy." Andrew's face dropped. "No, that's nothing to do with me." Suddenly, knocking and banging 3 times louder than before, and moaning and yelling spilled from the mine, getting closer and closer. "That's real," Andrew cried. Harry grabbed hold of Rob's arm. "What are we going to do?" "Let's get out of here," Rob shouted. They all turned to leave, and as they did, there was a loud bang right next to a pitch-black passageway, no more than 5 meters from where Andrew had been standing. Harry yelled out in shock. Rob followed in turn. The banging and moaning was everywhere, suffocating. Was there more than one? Andrew's first reaction was to pick up a large rock and throw it into the darkness. But in doing so, he broke loose a large support beam in the corner of the passageway. A small cluster of rocks fell from the roof, followed by a few large ones. "Oh no," Andrew cried. "We need to get out of here now!" The mine started shaking. A huge section of the roof fell in and completely blocked one of the passageways, crushing the knocker as it fell. The sound was horrendous. The boys ran out of the mine shaft and into the dock. More collapsing and screaming followed as part of the mine caved in on itself. The boys didn't look back once. Running all the way home, crying and in shock at what they had just seen. When they got home, their mother was standing outside the door waiting for them. "And where on earth have you been?" she asked with a disappointed tone, as if I didn't already know. "Mom, I'm sorry," cried Andrew. "We went to the mine by the dock, and there was—" "What have I told you about going down there?" she interrupted. She could see how shaken up they were. "I know, I'm sorry, but we found something down there." "What did you find?" asked their mother with a disbelieving smirk on her face. "We found the knocker. There were loads of them. We managed to get away, but—" "That will teach you a lesson. I'm glad you're scared," she barked. "You know you're not supposed to go down there. You didn't see the knocker. But I'm glad it worked." "What? What do you mean?" asked Andrew. His brothers still catching their breath. "We did see the knockers. There were loads of them." No, you didn't, she replied. I saw you sneaking off down the road earlier on, and I knew what you were up to. And when your father got home from the pub, he was so angry with you, he decided to follow you. Him and his mates went up there to teach you a lesson. And I can see it's worked. Never go down there again. The boys all stood still, their faces pale and grim. All they could hear were the screams and the rocks crushing bone and flesh. Father?